Hello and welcome to From Digital to D&D. For those of you unaware, this series sees a character from fiction receive a stat block for you to use in your games of D&D along with ways to use them. Naturally, any character that features in this series belongs to their respective owners. It's been a bit, hasn't it? Turns out moving to another country sucks when you have hay fever. And in the spirit of having a bad reaction to plant spores, I thought I'd treat you to something special. We aren't covering a creature or person this time, we're covering several creatures. So, get your masks and golf clubs ready as we take a look at the infected from The Last of Us. Though they can be called zombies, the infected of The Last of Us are not actually undead. Instead, they are people who have succumbed to the parasitic fungus known as cordyceps. This fungus is highly infectious, and those who are infected brought the world to ruin in a matter of days. It is unknown what made the fungus mutate to be able to go from infecting insects to infecting humans, but the results were devastating. The infection process begins when a spore is able to enter the body of a human. This can be via wounds or inhalation, anything that grants a way into the bloodstream. From there, the spore travels to the brain, where it begins to grow and consume the brain. The host loses their memories, and their aggression increases. After a short time, the only thing they can think of doing is finding the uninfected and spreading the infection to them by biting them. Now, like any good zombie apocalypse, there are different stages of infection which bring different types of infected. When a creature succumbs to the fungus, it becomes a runner. These infected are freshly turned, and the most agile, their body coursing with adrenaline. They are the weakest type of infected, as the fungus has only just taken hold and anything capable of killing a person can kill a runner. Becoming a runner takes no more than 2 days, but can be faster depending on where they were bitten. A runner enters the next stage after 2 weeks of infection. Now called stalkers, the fungus now sprouts from one of their eye sockets and openly grows upwards. The stalker is still active and retains their speed, but they become even more aggressive. Unlike runners, stalkers will use ambush tactics if possible. They are the only infected that will not openly charge at a target if they see them from afar. Instead, they will try to stealthily approach and wait for the right time to pounce. If an infected survives for over a year, its head is fully overgrown by the fungus. Losing their eyesight, the infected now rely on a crude form of echolocation, which is used by making a constant clicking sound. Clickers, as they are called, appear to be a walking fungus. Their body is covered in a layer of mycelium, and the fungus controlling their brain has bloomed and overtaken their head. Only the maw of the clicker remains. Sensitive to sound, a clicker will pursue any noise in the hopes it is fresh prey, and with their greater strength, they will tear into the victim with ease. One more stage remains, which is rare for an infected to achieve and requires several years to form. The fungus keeps growing from the host, increasing its mass to a horrific, bloated form. Aptly named bloaters, these are the most deadly forms of the infected. Towering above the average person, they are walking juggernauts. They can overpower people with ease and tear a victim limb from limb like it was nothing. But the bloater is not the last type of infected to talk about. 2 more remain, both variants of the bloater. In damper environments, a bloater instead becomes a shambler. Similar to the bloater, these infected are walking spore clouds. Though they are not as durable, they are still dangerous. But the last one to talk about is a unique infected with only one of them known to exist. What happens when you trap several infected in a sealed room for decades? They fuse together into one mass, the Rat King. All of these infected have made reclaiming the world nearly impossible. One bite is a death sentence, and the tunnels below become hives for the infected, the air dense with infectious spores. Since we have so many of the infected to talk about, I will be keeping this brief. The first thing to talk about is the initial infection. As previously mentioned, a spore needs to enter a suitable host. This can be via consumption, inhalation, or being bitten by another infected. Getting into the bloodstream is key. Once a spore has reached the brain, the host is doomed. Since the parasite is a fungus, it cannot be treated with any form of medicine, and brain surgery is impossible due to the speed of infection. From there, the fungus will alter the motor functions of the host as it consumes the brain and turns the host into a runner. Runners are nice and simple. They're basically aggressive people who will try to bite you. The danger comes in their numbers as they tend to travel in groups. Stalkers are not too dissimilar from runners, but they are able to go very quiet on a dime. Some stalkers will lie in wait for a long time, waiting for a victim to walk by. Then they leap out and attack. Things get interesting with clickers. Now blind, these infected rely on sound and touch. The fungus that covers their body acts like a layer of armour, able to lessen the impacts that would cripple runners. The plates on their head are highly durable and able to withstand several rounds of gunfire. And in that time, the clicker will shamble with frightening speed before grabbing you and tearing your throat out. As I said before, bloaters are walking tanks. They can withstand an intense amount of gunfire and not even flinch. Don't get me wrong, it will kill them if enough rounds are fired, but most standard firearms aren't able to do the job. And all that fungal fat isn't for show. The bloater can grab collections of mycotoxin from several sacks and hurl it. And if it closes the distance, it will have no problem tearing the head from your body like it was Lego. Like the clicker, the bloater is blind and will react violently to any sound it hears. Shamblers are a bit more reserved. They are slower than the already lumbering bloater, but they can excrete a cloud of mycotoxin at will. They are the only type of infected incapable of biting, as they have lost their teeth instead relying on their spore pods. Oh, and they explode on death. Finally, we come to the Rat King. This unique infection is the sum of all who came before, given that, you know, it's a sum of infected bound together. The superorganism is comprised of bloaters, clickers, and stalkers, granting it all of their assets. And if the Rat King is pushed back, it may shed one of its infected, doubling the amount of enemies. Despite the fact there are 6 stat sheets, each infected builds upon the last in one way or another. I implore you to take a look at each infected in your own time, as I will only be going over certain aspects of each infected. Starting off with the runner, they are not dangerous alone, but in a group they can be troublesome. And they are the fastest of the infected, able to cover up to 90 feet per round if they use their action and bonus action to close the gap. Being trapped in a group of runners is dangerous, as they will seek to pin you down before biting you, which will spread the infection. But if we move to the stalker, we can see some roguish elements. They have a +6 to stealth, which may not fool season parties, but the common man won't know the stalker is there before it is too late. If they manage to surprise their target, they will deal an extra 2d6 damage, meaning at lower levels a stalker can be a real threat. They also have the first instance of blind sight, albeit a weak one at only 15 feet. But now, onto the big one, the clicker. The clicker cannot see beyond 60 feet and can't see at all if its blind sight is taken away, which happens when it is deafened. Since they rely on sound, they have expertise in perception and advantage on perception checks related to hearing. And should the clicker hear a sound, it can shamble up to 35 feet before pummeling its target. If the target made a noise the clicker heard, it also has advantage as the sound drives it into a frenzy. But the real danger is that the clicker can forgo the damage of its main attack to grapple the target. It is from that point it can bite the creature and tear into it. Oh, and the fungus covering its form makes it resistant to non-adamantine weapons. It is also at this stage the infected become classed as plants, as they are more fungus than person. Moving on, the bloater is beefy, unless you use fire. It shares the damage resistance of the clicker, but has far more health and a higher AC. Whilst it is slow, it has a rechargeable ranged attack, which lets it create a cloud of acidic gas in a 10-foot radius sphere. Anything in the cloud takes 4d8 acid damage, and failing the DC 15 Constitution saving throw by 5 or more also infects you with the fungus. But this can be prevented. On the bloater's body are 3 sacs it uses to create the toxin it throws. These sacs have separate health and HP, but destroying them deals damage to the bloater and makes it harder to recharge the action. And getting rid of all 3 removes the action entirely. The bloater is even more dangerous up close. Like the clicker, it can grapple instead of dealing damage, but this grapple also restrains the target. And if it reduces the target to 0 hit points whilst the bloater is grappling it, the bloater instantly kills the creature as it gets torn apart. Shamblers are different from their bloated cousins. They are slower, but have a permanent aura of the same toxin the bloater can throw. Unlike the bloater, this cannot be stopped with strategic attacks, and bringing the shambler low will result in it blowing up in a 30-foot radius, which only leaves us with one more infected left. Without further ado, I give you the Rat King. With almost double the health of the bloater, the Rat King is a true juggernaut who uses the best traits of the earlier infected. The speed of a runner, the durability and strength of a bloater, the aura of a shambler, and the fury of a clicker. Fighting the Rat King will not be easy for the unprepared. And just when you think you have the edge, your troubles double. As a reaction, the Rat King can shed a Stalker from its form. Though it uses the Stalker stats, it has several buffs. This Stalker has the same hit points as the Rat King. It also has the Mycotoxin action, has the damage resistances and vulnerabilities of the later infected, and is considered a plant instead of a humanoid. The only thing left to talk about is the mechanical rules of infection. This strain of cordyceps needs humans to grow, or those close enough to being human. After really thinking about it, the following races can be infected by the fungus: Asimar, Elf, Gnome, Goliath, Half-Elf, Halfling, Human, Kalishtar, Kender, Orc, and Shifter. You might ask why dwarves are immune as well as tieflings. It's simple, really. Dwarves are too tough and thick-skulled to infect, and tieflings run too hot for the fungus. You can alter this list if you wish. Other creatures can carry the disease, but they don't suffer any ill effects. They can still pass it on, however. Now, what happens when a suitable host is infected? Since the infection is a fungus, most forms of healing don't work at all. Lesser restoration is unable to push back the fungus, but the greater variant can, but only if it is in the first 48 hours of infection. Once a creature enters stage 1 and becomes a runner, there is no going back as the person is dead. Only Wish can reverse this, and only one person at a time. Members of a party susceptible to the fungus should tread with care. I won't beat around the bush. You could totally have a world overrun with these infected and do your own version of The Last of Us. But if you want to gently slide them into a D&D setting, I have a suggestion. Those of you who played Baldur's Gate 3 may recall the Myconids. These fungal creatures require bodies to grow from. Sound familiar? Now, the Myconids are a sentient race capable of rational thought. The infected of The Last of Us are not. So, I propose this. What if the Cordyceps is a primal, feral form of the Myconids? Within the recesses of the Underdark, a colony of Myconids were exposed to a mutagen that stripped their intelligence and turned them into feral beasts. Able to grow more aggressively, the infected will keep growing and growing with no restraint or limit. Imagine the party needs to work through the Underdark and stumble across a hive of these feral Myconids. The air is toxic and one bite will seal their fate. How do they get past it? And if you want a reason as to why the fungus has not reached the surface, maybe the Myconids seek ways to limit or destroy the fungus as it poses a threat to them as well. The party could receive some form of protection from the Myconids that let them travel through a spore cluster unharmed. There is also the option that the infected are a new type of life created by Zygutmoi, demon queen of fungi. Unless you're going for a post-apocalypse setting, I would advise making the infected a one-off encounter. But with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Before you head off, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you managed to get something out of this. If you feel like helping out, you can become a patron using the link in the description. The stat blocks for the infected are available on D&D Beyond for free, and the link to them is in the description. I hope you all have a great day, and may your dice roll favourably. Goodbye for now.